Good evening, board members, Mr. Gonzalez and district staff and public here present. Time is 6:01 p.m. on this 17th day of August 2022, and I call this regular meeting of the United Independent School District Board of Trustees to order. If I can have the board members that are present recite their full name for the record.
Ricardo Rick Rodriguez, present.
Frank Castillo, present. Ricardo Molina, present.
And myself, Ramiro Vélez III. Present, let the record show that a quorum of board members is present, that this meeting has been duly called, and that notice of this meeting has been posted in accordance with the Texas Open Meetings Act. Agenda item 3 will be Pledge of Allegiance and Texas Pledge. If I can have everybody please stand up.
Pledge of allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Honor the Texas flag, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
Thank you. Agenda item 4, recognitions. We already went through the summer graduations. Is that correct, Mr. Gonzalez?
Yes, sir.
All right. Agenda item 5, public comments. Do we have any public comments?
Not at this time, sir, no.
None at this time. Thank you. Agenda item 6, informational items. Item A is Texas Education Agency 2022 Accountability Ratings. Lessa, good evening.
Good evening, Mr. Vélez, board members, distinguished audience, Mr. Gonzalez. The ratings were finalized and made public on Monday. But again, we are ecstatic and very proud of all of the work that happened last year to get us to where we are this year. You'll notice that the map of Texas, this is directly from the TEA website, and I'm not sure why they just didn't put an A, but we went ahead and we put it there. And so that's where you can see the A that we have for our 3 ratings. But just to go over a little bit of information on what we have here. So again, this year we were able to garner an A overall for the whole district. And not only that, but we were ecstatic to see that we also came in with a scale score of a 94. And that is actually the exact same score that we had in 2019. Now, after pandemic, after water issues, after so many situations that you know that we went through last year, to come back and be able to earn the A at this level, we really do want to thank our teachers that they just did an amazing job. You can see their dedication. Our campus administrators, we are working on their banners. We had more distinctions this year than we had in 2019, and we're just very, very proud of all of the work that happened. So just to provide a little bit of information, at the top you see the enrollment of 39,243 students, 50 schools, although only 45 are rated, and then under Mr. Gonzalez. Here, we've got the student information. Now, this student information is from 2020, 2021, so that's why you see the number a little bit higher at 41,835. But again, showing our rate of economically disadvantaged at 75.2, which has remained steady, and our emergent bilingual or English learners at 34.9. I will tell you that this year, it's a little bit higher. Again, here, I thought this was important to share with you because we have a good picture of our teachers. When we look at 17.8% of our teachers were 1 to 5 years. And again, I do have to say that the team that we have at Curriculum and Instruction, executive directors, coordinators, making sure that it didn't matter if it was a 1-year teacher, a 10-year teacher, we were providing that support so that we could be able to bring these results to you today. So again, that's why we went ahead and shared over 30% of our teachers were between the first 1 year and 10 year. And then of course we have a very solid group of teachers, 42% of them between the 11 and 20 years. Embracing those new teachers and of course sharing the knowledge, and again, just a lot of dedication to the work that we do. This is another thing that we wanted to share with you. We are straight A's, okay? We've got the A. We were able to garner the A in student achievement with a 90 out of 100 points. in school progress with 93 out of 100 points, and in closing the gaps, 95 out of 100 points. As we were looking at all of the data in the state, closing the gaps is one of the areas that many districts have difficulty with. And again, this is where our economically disadvantaged, they look at our special education population, they look at our English learners, they even look at our mobility, because they look at our students that are continuously enrolled and those that are not. So again, very proud to bring this to you. This is the third year that we also earn our post-secondary readiness distinction. Again, that's the only distinction that a district can earn, and it is based on our elementary, middle, and high school. So just to sum up the information and bring it to you in a way to just look at the whole state, there are 1,207 districts in the state of Texas and charter schools that are rated with this accountability system. Out of those 1,207, 396 districts and charters received an overall A rating. Out of those 396, only 17 in the state of Texas educate 20,000 students or more. And out of those 17, only 6 have those 20,000 students or more and above 75% economically disadvantaged. And out of those 6 in the entire state, only 1 can say that they've had an overall A in 2018, 2019, 2022, and that is our district. I don't know if you have any questions for us.
We're extremely proud of the work of all the employees. Sincere congratulations from behalf of the board. I think it's a great work. Mr. Gonzalez, all your team has translated all the way down to the students, and it is now showing as far as the results. So obviously, we're going in the right direction, and we want to continue going to that direction. So we're extremely proud. Again, congratulations. I think.
If I may say a few words also, congratulations to everybody, including administration, the staff, teachers, and parents and students.
Absolutely.
Parents and students are partners with us
Yes.
all the time. And so we work with them to try to instill good learning habits. And I think that is what the product shows today. I think at UISD we have a legacy of getting A's. So congratulations to the staff who have been here with us for a while, and even those that are not, they share in this grade. So again, thank you to everybody.
I'd like to thank everybody for the hard work. It's a team effort. It's not only teachers, it's principals, students, parents, especially parents, that work with the kids to come and take the test. Because a lot of times, a lot of parents don't send them when they're getting tested, so our level goes down. But I'd like to thank the administrators, everybody from the schools, that, like I said, it's a team effort, and administration, everybody else. Thank you very much.
And I do want to say and reiterate that this is truly a team effort, because when we had schools closing for water issues, everybody was pulling together, working together, bringing you the information, your support, and the support of every single department. Again, we are truly united in this endeavor, and that's why we have the ratings that we have. So thank you so much for your support.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Congratulations again. Thank you very much for the information. All right, item B, superintendent's report.
Yes, so just real briefly, as everybody knows here, we did cancel campus school on Monday with the weather. I want to make it very clear, it wasn't just so much the rain, it was the roads in a lot of our colonia areas. The decision was made, I made the decision after talking to Mr. Hurd, our chief. Everything else is for everybody's safety. They were forecasting heavy weather, rain during the day. The decision was made in the safety of everybody involved. More than anything else, I want to thank the community for supporting us for the most part and the board. I'm going to echo Ms. Emma's presentation right now and go a little further. Yes, we have maintained the A of a 94 that we were able to achieve also in 2019. But let me make something very clear. As campus principals working with our teachers, our staff, to give you an example of the improvement was also made even with all these blockages during this past year with water issues and the COVID and everything with the freeze. 2019, we were 94. There was 22 A's by our campuses. This past year, we had 33. 2019, we had 23 B's. This year, we only had 12. It's indicative of the work that's been continuing within our teachers, mostly, and the leadership with our principals. So I want to commend them for the work they're doing. On another note, because of the weather that we've had, all the damages in our campuses and so forth, working with our state reps, I want to recognize Mike Garza for assisting us with this as well, taking the lead. We've also had a conversation today with Lalo Uribe from our county. They are declaring a disaster declaration. This is going to assist UISD in funding in the future. Probably this time next year, we'll look at how we can help, how the state can help us fund our campuses. So this is actually very good news for us as a UISD district. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Gonzalez, for the information. All right, so item C, discussion and presentation by UISD administration regarding state mandated school safety action steps and matters incident thereto.
Yes, sir. On this item, I spoke to Mr. Montemayor earlier and Guerrero Rondon. Mr. Montemayor sponsored the item. At this time, we're recommending to table it. I know that we have another big safety meeting in early September, so this will probably be presented in the instruction and business meeting next month.
I make a motion that we table this item.
Second?
Motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor of the table? Aye.
Aye.
Item passes to be tabled. All right, so we move on to agenda item 7, public hearing. Board will take public comments regarding 2022-2023 budget and proposed 2022 tax rate. I'm going to need a motion to open the public hearing.
Make a
So-
motion.
Motion.
Second.
The second. Time is 6:13 p.m. Public meeting is now open. Do we have any public comments signed up for?
Not at this time.
Are we going to have a?
Yeah, no,
information
just to
person?
let you know, because the items are within the individual consideration. There's the item to adopt the budget, and then there's the item to adopt the tax rate.
Okay.
And just to let y'all know that we did publish the notice of this meeting, like we're supposed to, 10 days before. It came out in the Laredo Morning Times on August 7th. And the budget was presented to the Budget Committee, and I think staff was able to prepare booklets to send to the board. So that is the budget that we're presenting tonight that we sent to y'all.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right, so we need a motion now to.
So
close.
move to close the
Motion to
public
close.
hearing.
Second. All right, public hearing is now closed at time 6:14 p.m. Agenda item 8 is consent agenda. We have items A through J.
Make a motion to approve item 8 through J.
So move.
Motion by Mr. Rodriguez, second by Mr. Molina to approve consent agenda items. Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye.
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 All those opposed? None opposed? Motion passes. Agenda item 9, items for individual consideration. 9A, approval of donations.
Yes, sir. It is recommended the board trustees greatly accept. There's 23 items that are here. Greatly accept the donation of totaling $434,590. They are listed in the minutes here. I can read all 23 of them, sir, or we can. I can ask we graciously accept the donations of the total.
All right, so I think we have them up here, and so they're displayed and they were posted as well.
I make a motion that we accept the approval of donations.
Second?
Motion to approve donations as presented, second by Mr. Molina. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Aye.
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 All those opposed? None opposed? Thank you, Mr. Gonzalez. 9B, approval of board minutes for the months of April, May, June, and July 2022. Do we have a motion to approve?
So move.
Second.
Motion and a second to approve minutes for, board minutes for April, May, June, and July 2022. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? None opposed, motion passes. 9C, discussion and possible action to approve signatories on employee educator service records.
Good evening, board members, Mr. Gonzalez and committee members. We're here for your approval for the signatures for our service records. It's to approve the compensation director, HR program coordinator, associate superintendent for human resources to authorize the signing of personal records of the institution.
Do we have a motion as presented by Mr. Gonzalez?
So move.
Second.
Motion and a second by Mr. Rodriguez. Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? None opposed?
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Gonzalez. All right, 9D, adopt official budget for the 2022-2023 fiscal year. Rodriguez.
Yes, we're bringing to you the official budget for the 22-23 fiscal year. It is 3 different funds. It's the general fund, the debt service fund, and the child nutrition fund. On our general fund, we did include positions for the new middle school and additional teachers we needed for special ed. We also incorporated the raises that the board approved in January. And we took care to make sure that we had all the money for the programs and services for the students for this coming year. That's included in the operation budget. Our debt service budget, I don't know if you can go up, just so that you can see that you're adopting it at a, we'll move it up. Should be there. Yes. So you're adopting a budget of over $418 million for general fund. Debt service, $41.6 million. That's our debt service payment. And child nutrition, $33.9 million. And so we're presenting this budget for the board's approval to start on September 1st.
Okay. Do we have motion?
So move.
I'll second, because I have some questions, so.
Motion by Ms. Molina, second by Mr. Castillo. Mr. Castillo, go ahead.
Yeah, why do we have an excess, or are we deficient in any of the budgets that it's going to affect us later?
What we're going to do is we're going to cover the projected deficit with our ESSER 3 money. And what we're going to do is we're going to be tracking enrollment. In fact, we've been pleased with our projected enrollment. It's coming in.
Okay.
I think we see, based on past year, remember last year we were very concerned about our kids not coming in. We're starting to see more students come in, so we feel we're going to hit our projected enrollment and more. So we'll be working with administration to see where we could start holding on some expenditures.
The reason I ask is because if the public sees this, they're going to think we're operating at a deficit. And so what is the explanation there?
The explanation is that we're covering any revenue shortfall with the ESSER 3 funds, which we're allowed to use.
I see, okay.
Yes, and I think you can see it.
And I think I'm going to vote for this, but I wanted to make sure I had spoke with the superintendent and given him my particular interest is to make sure that we always cover the teachers' salaries very well, including increments that we could give, as well as substitute teaching, because I think they're a vital cog in our learning experience in our district. And so I want to also express that sentiment to you, that we always make sure that we have monies hopefully available for that, because
Yes.
people are hurting even till day, with the cost of living that exists. So if you can always keep that in mind for my attention, I would appreciate it.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Castillo.
Yes, sir.
Any other comments? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? None opposed, motion passes.
Thank you.
ma'am. 9E, resolution to adopt 2022 tax rate.
Yes, the recommendation is that the property tax rate be increased by the adoption of a tax rate of 1.022540, which is effectively a 16.47% increase in the tax rate.
We have motion to approve as presented by Mr. Trotman.
So move.
Motion,
Second.
second by Mr. Castillo. Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
We need a vote, Mr. Rodriguez? We need a vote
Yes.
for the tax rate, Mr. Castillo?
Yes.
Yes. All those in favor, none, all those opposed, none opposed, motion passes. Thank you, Mr. Trotman. And 9F, presentation by Clean Air Coalition regarding ethylene oxide and matters incident thereto with possible action. We have,
I was going to ask if we could move this item to, at the end of this discussion of this, because I believe they don't have everybody present
Okay.
for the presentation. I'd like to make a motion that we move this later to the agenda.
that's fine. Do we need a motion for that, Mr. Trotman?
No, we're fine. We can
As long as
proceed.
we're within the meeting?
Yes, sir.
All right, so we'll skip 9F. We'll come back right now. 9G, nomination candidate for Task B Board of Directors for Region 1, Position B. So we would need one of the board members being nominated, is that correct, or?
There are two candidates for
Candidates
Region
already.
1, Position B. We have Janie Lopez from San Benito CISD and Sylvia Sanchez Garza from South Texas ISD.
Can we
And the incumbent, I believe, is Sylvia Sanchez Garza.
can we self-nominate for this, or?
At this point, they've already been nominated by task,
Okay.
so that would have to be.
Okay.
Okay.
All right, are we gonna have
Next time.
is there a motion by one of the board members?
I believe the recommendation is the incumbent, Mrs. Garza.
Right, I'll make the motion. I'll make the motion for
Second.
Ms. Sanchez for the incumbent, and we have a second by Ms. Rodriguez. Any further discussion? All those in favor, aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, none opposed, motion passes. 9H is approval of requests from board members in reference to use of board of trustees discretionary funds for various projects and campuses. Mr. Casa, good evening.
Yes, sir. Good evening, Mr. Veliz, members of the board, Mr. Gonzalez, members of the audience. In addition to the items that were submitted at the Business Committee, we have some additional requests now that the budget has been approved. This is for fiscal year 2022, 2023. It's, the requester is Aaron Salazar, Chief of Police, from Mr. Ricardo Molina. It's air-inflated walk-around police mascot and equipment for a total of $4,450. The requester is Mr. Aaron Salazar, Chief of Police, by Mr. Rick Rodriguez.
Can we just approve this now?
How many items do you have?
How many
There
items?
are 4 items.
4 items.
Willing to approve it.
That's right. So we'll submit them as part of the minutes.
Yes, make a motion that we approve.
Second?
All right, motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor, aye.
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 All those opposed, none opposed. Motion passes.
Thank you.
Mr. Garza. All right, so 9I, first and final reading of board policy, BED, local board internal organization, and then public participation.
Yes, good evening trustees and Mr. Gonzalez. This was a policy that we brought to you last month. We did receive some feedback over the last month on changes to this policy, and there is really no major change. We are basically cleaning up what was about a 3 or 4 page policy and condensing it. Some of those items we feel are better addressed in board operating procedures. However, there is no substantive change to current public comment rules for the public's sake.
Right, okay. All right, motion to adopt
Make
the
a motion.
revisions. Motion and a second. Any further discussion?
I'd like to just ask,
Sir?
Mr. Garcia, this allows every member of the public to have an opportunity to speak, not
Yes,
just
sir.
as a group, but individually, correct?
Yes, sir. That's actually required by law now. That is a recent change, 2019. Before 2019, the Board of Trustees could delegate groups to allow only one person out of the group to speak. However, that was modified by the Texas Legislature, and now if 100 people show up, you must allow all 100 to speak. However, the presiding officer can modify by law the time limits.
The time, they
Yes,
can
sir.
still be modified.
Yes, sir.
And really quickly, just to chime in, at regular meetings, members of the public will still be able to comment on items that are not on the agenda, so that is not being changed either.
We're keeping it how it is.
Yes, sir.
Any further comments? All those in favor, aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, none opposed, motion passes. 9J, first and final reading of board policy, BDB, local board internal organization, internal committees.
Yes, again, trustees and Mr. Gonzalez, this was another policy we brought to you all last month. We did receive a little bit of comment on it. We revised it to reflect comments. And again, on this policy, there is no substantive change to the committee policy. It's merely cleaning up some of the language that better reflects what the board's actual practices are.
Correct. Okay. We have motion?
Second.
Motion and a second.
I have discussion.
Go ahead, Mr. Rosa.
And again, this committees where we want to make sure we understand, as long as we're board members, that we cannot be present at another committee, correct?
You cannot-
That's important for the public to know.
Yes, sir. For the public to know, actually, to clarify that, the members that are elected by the board to each standing committee, being the business and instructional committee, are the only members allowed to preside over that meeting, because that meeting, that committee, each respective committee gives recommendations for approval to the board.
Right.
However, the board members are allowed to be present in the audience at each of those committees.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Not
That's the
actual
change.
participants in the.
Correct, and that's been a practice that we've had ongoing for many years, and that is also a reason why we post on the agenda in compliance with the Texas Open Meetings Act that there could be a quorum present, even though technically the quorum is not presiding over the meeting, because as we know, only three trustees are elected to each committee. However, if there are members in the audience, we allow that. They just cannot preside over the meeting in order to give recommendations to the board.
So they can be in the audience?
Yes, sir.
meaning Not
Listening.
anywhere, just to be sure, because that's not what I was told before, and so I want to be clear about that, and so the public knows
Yes, sir.
that only members of the committee can be participants.
Active participants.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Active participants, because again, they're presiding over the meeting and giving recommendations to the board for approval at a later meeting.
Okay.
But the members of the board can be in the audience, even though they do not shed their roles as board members, they can be in the audience to listen to some of
Just
the
to
items.
listen.
Because as we know, sometimes the instructional items are not on the business committee and vice versa. So, yes, that's allowed.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Garcia.
problem.
Thank you. Any further comments? All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? None opposed, motion passes.
Mr. President, I'd like to make a motion to table item K.
Second.
Okay, so motion to table, second. Also, any discussion? All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, none opposed, motion passes. Item 9L, discussion and possible action regarding board member assignments to the business and structural committees.
The recommendation would be a motion to table since the officer's item got tabled.
All right, so that goes hand in hand with the other one, so do we have motion?
Yeah, motion.
Motion?
Second.
A second. Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye.
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 All those opposed? None opposed, motion passes. All right, so we're at agenda item 10, closed session.
Is
Do we have all the
the
individuals
coalition
here?
ready?
We're ready? Okay, so
Sorry to
that's,
interrupt you.
that's fine, that's fine. I know somebody walked in, so we go back
I saw
to
that too.
9F, which will be presentation by Clean Air Coalition regarding ethylene oxide and matters incident thereto with possible action.
Yes, the microphone.
Hello, good evening. Thank you for having us here. We are members of the Clean Air Laredo Coalition. We have Ms. Trisha Cortez, Nina Jimenez, Sal Otero, Joanne Pillard Otero, Ethel Perez, Bobby Santos, and myself, Sheila Serna. So the purpose of today's presentation is basically to catch you guys up on the ethylene oxide issue that we have in Laredo and provide some options. So just to a little refresher, 5 years ago, in December of 2016, the EPA reclassified ethylene oxide as a class 1 carcinogen, which basically means that it's highly toxic to humans. And they also discovered that it was 60 times more toxic to children and 30 times more toxic to adults than they had previously estimated. 2 weeks ago, on August 3rd, we were notified by the EPA that they released a list of 23 high-risk sterilizer facilities in the United States, and Midwest Sterilization Corps in Laredo is on that list. They also agreed, after much insistence from the Clean Air Laredo Coalition, to come down and do an in-person community outreach meeting where they'll be talking about information that they gathered from Midwest, and also they'll also be talking about their risk assessment value, which right now is currently at Laredoans that live around Midwest sterilization. Their risk is 1 in 10,000 for developing cancers associated to ETO. Right, and so 1 in 10,000 is opposed to the standard for EPA, which is like the top that they would allow is 1 in 1 million. So we are 1 in 10,000. So we are very much at risk here in Laredo. So again, the risks of exposure to ethylene oxide, the short term is irritated eyes. It causes irritation to the mucous membrane, nose, throat, lungs, and skin. It harms the brain and the nervous system. And long-term exposures can lead to cancers such as non-Hodgkin's lymphoma, myeloma, breast cancers, and leukemia. So with that, the city of Laredo asked the Department of State Health Services to conduct a study around 3 census tracts. They are all in area code 78041, and what that study found was that people that live in that area the people that live in that area had a statistically significantly greater occurrence of non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. So that's compared to the average that we would see in Texas. The people that live in this area in census tracts 17.11, 17.15, and 17.12 have a higher risk of getting this type of cancer. And that is not information that was released by EPA. That is a study that was conducted by the Texas Department of Health, State Health Services. Okay, so these census tracts that I just mentioned, it does include 78041, but it also includes 78045. And because the DSHS found that there was an elevated risk of non-Hodgkin's lymphoma, they agreed to do the next 3 census tracts that are further away from Midwest sterilization. But they agreed to do that only because they found a greater incidence of it. And so here's a list of the top 20 most affected schools. According to the University of Massachusetts, they did a PERI, like air toxics at school. That's what they call this list. This is specific to Laredo, but you can search any city in the United States. This is just for us. We have the list of 85 to 90. I'm not sure how many schools are on that list, but they list all of them. And all of these, the top 10, are in the first percentile, which means that they are the worst ranked in all of the United States for air toxics at school. And it's not just UISD schools, there's LISD and United Day School as well. And LC and TAMU is also on this list, but they're not the top 20. So.
For the record, we have Mr. Javier Montemayor and Ms. Lisa Flores walking in, so we have a full board present.
We
apologize for the interruption.
No worries. So what we are recommending is to authorize the use of air monitors at 3 to 5 campuses. And we've based these top 5 schools around the proximity of Midwest sterilization. I have gone out to look for quotes from reputable companies around Texas that do air monitoring. Just a little background, I used to be an air investigator for the Texas Commission on Environmental Quality, so I have about 5 years of experience looking at lots of different types of air monitoring. I myself being one of the people that used canisters during investigations, and so this type of monitoring would include having canisters fanned out throughout each school. The most cost-effective and kind of bang for your buck, if you will, would be air quality emissions testing, where they're offering to do each school that are listed here for 1 week, 7 days, using 6 to 8 canisters, depending on how large the campus is and how far away they are from Midwest. And they're going to take 24-hour samples with each of those canisters. and it would be around 30 to 35,000 per school. But that's air monitoring for the whole week. So, right, so that includes not only the sampling, but also sending it to the lab for analysis and then conducting a report at the end, which will basically break down what they found and if there are elevated readings. And so what we know of now is that Midwest Sterilization has taken some steps, although we don't know what those steps are, to reduce emissions. They are still very high. They're between the 2,000 to 6,000 pounds per year range, and that is still unacceptable for our kids, for our community. So we really ask you to prioritize the safety of our children and really invest in these air monitors so that we can have data and use that data to provoke some action. And again, this is not a campaign to do away with the business. We are not anti-business. We would just like for them to conduct their business in a way that doesn't have a detrimental effect to our community. So I don't know if there are any questions.
Well, you clarified, if I may. I did include this as one of the items that, as a member of the coalition, that you all invested or entrusted me, and I believe it was Mr. Montemayor, Mr. Ramirez, and I believe you were also
Yes,
part
I
of
was.
the...
I was never invited to a meeting,
Yeah.
but I am a member of the coalition.
Well, now that we are here, what I've learned from the coalition has been very informative. And it seems like my concern has always been that we have a collaboration with the city, with the county, with the state, that we don't do this only on our own. However, I do see the need to ensure that our children in the classroom are okay. And so my particular thoughts is that perhaps we should invest in some kind of monitoring, but it would be internally in our schools, not externally, because that doesn't belong, the air doesn't belong to United ISD only. It belongs to the whole community. And so we can do our part provided the others do their part. And so anything that we want to do, I think I want to make sure that we have the collaboration of the other schools. And I think I made that, at least my point of view, known. Secondly, when it comes to the data, whatever data we collect, who's going to get it and who's going to interpret it and analyze it, and what will be the purpose? Will it be something that's going to be only for the school district? Or in my book, maybe EPA should be collecting that data to be able, and I don't know if any of you can share some light on that, but EPA
Yes.
should be the one, and I know they're going to be here September 15th, so everybody knows. They're going to be here, and it's going to be almost a public meeting, I believe.
Yes.
And
Let me jump in real quick,
Okay.
so it'll be on the same topic right there. So you started off with a presentation that EPA names this facility, this business, as one of the facilities that have, that's at high risk, right?
Yes, that's correct.
Has there been any monitoring, like the one that you're recommending from EPA, or how
No,
are they
there-
determining that high risk?
Yes, no, there has not been any monitoring from EPA or from the state for that matter. We have asked repeatedly for it, but, and we also, we have a campaign, we haven't just reached out to UISD, we do agree with Mr. Castillo that this has to be a collaboration between LISD, the city, and even the county. But I think if we can pool our resources together, if we can kind of just bridge the lines of communication between the four entities, then it'll just make it that much stronger. Now, as far as what do we do with this data, yes, we can share it with EPA and we can share it with the city. And namely, we can share it with Midwest and let them know what is going on. They refuse themselves to do fence line monitoring. I am not sure why. If they say that there is no problem, right? That they say that they've reduced emissions, then all we are asking for is some simple fence line monitoring with the same type of air monitors that we're requesting here with the canisters.
Are they by law, as a business that handles this type of material, are they obligated to do any studies and then produce those results, or?
Not yet, but hopefully with this new rule that EPA is going to launch, we're hoping by the end of this year. But the problem with relying on that EPA rule is that it'll take 3 years. They'll give them 3 years to implement whatever new regulation is included. So we don't have 3 years to wait, unfortunately. We just can't continue to.
Also, I just wanted to mention, Mr. Veliz, that other communities, they're not waiting for the EPA to come save them, or like in a state like Texas, the TCEQ for that matter. So other communities in West Virginia, also in Willowbrook, just north of Chicago, their local entities, their schools and their governments, they have invested in the air quality data. All of them have shown that emissions are much, much higher than what the companies are self-reporting to the EPA. And this is data that is vital and critical for us to base our requests and our actions. And we applaud UISD, Mr. Gonzalez, and you, Mr. Veliz. We know that y'all got on board right away in joining the coalition, just like LISD and the city and county, and recognize what an issue this is. But if we don't take action, then there's no action. And because ethylene oxide is so severe in such tiny amounts, we have to do everything that we can right now locally to get the data and make sure that our community and our kids and your staff and your teams are safe. And so we believe that today is a really important meeting before y'all and an opportunity to take strong and courageous leadership to put the health of our community first.
I had a question.
Go ahead.
If I may. You know, even if you put canisters and everything, you're not going to stop the company from polluting the air. So my question is, how come the EPA hasn't shut the location up?
Amen. That's our question, and when they come,
I know.
these
We're
are
gonna put a lot of money that's worth for our kids, but it's not gonna stop the pollution from the company.
So in these, yes, and that's a very good point, Mr. Molina, and the EPA has to hear from more leaders like you. But in other communities that have done the data, they have led to action, and they have forced the EPAs of those regions or the state legislatures, even in Republican-led states, to enact measures to mandate minimal air emissions. We're talking less than 150 pounds a year. And Midwest for years and years was doing 14, 16, 17,000 pounds. And in the last 6 months, now they're reporting between 2,000 and 6,000 pounds without proving it. So, you know, and we believe in the motto, trust but verify. We do believe, Mr. Molina, that this would be a powerful tool to create the change in action that you're mentioning.
What I'm saying is also that like the school districts or all the school districts in Laredo didn't give the permission to build that plant. Didn't give them the permission, they didn't give them everything to what they're doing. So I think they're very responsible, like the city. They gave them permit to build there, and then the other people that let them operate and get to this problem. Where are those people?
Yes.
Those are the ones that we should go
Thank you,
to.
Mr. Molina. We believe, and let me introduce myself. My name is Edna Jimenez, and my kids go to Muller. And I have been living in La Bota for 15 years. My kids have been born, and they have been breathing this air. So as a citizen that my kids are impacted, I'm urging you to please step up and do something. I am tired of hearing the EPA saying, well, that's not my problem. That's the state problem. That's someone else's problem. And in the meantime, my kids and everyone's kids in Muller Elementary, and not just the kids, the teachers, because I know that the same teachers that my oldest daughter went to school there, they're still there. They're still breathing in that air. I'm urging you to please, please take that leadership and do something just to prove that we're not asking to take any of the blame, just to prove that we are protecting our kids. When we found out about the pandemic and about water, our district made the efforts to protect our kids. This is the same thing, we just can't see it. And that's why it's so messed up. We can't see it, we have no choice. My kids have no choice but to breathe the air that they live in. And it's kids, unfortunately, that it affects the most. And we, as parents, as community, as people that live in that community, are being told that our first line of defense, it's basically our local government. And if you ask what we can do a lot. And we can take that leadership and say, you know what, let's do this investment. You don't want to do it in all of them. Do it in Muller and, Finley, that are literally almost across the street from Midwest. Again, my kids have been there for 15 years, ever since they were born. And they say that it affects them most if you breathe in that air since the day you were born till the day you're like 70. The chances of you getting cancer or that type of cancer are extremely, extremely high. I thank you so much for this opportunity and for hearing us out. It's just very hard for me to tell my kids that we're not doing anything and that everyone's trying to pass a little ball and that we as adults are not united in trying to fight for them. If we know that something is up, we need to stand up for them.
I'm concerned about the river. It's polluting the river, the water.
No, no, it doesn't pollute the water. It's only polluting the kids and the air we breathe, basically your lungs.
Yeah, but like I said, my concern is it's polluting the air, but putting canisters and everything is not going to stop it. You need to stop the company from polluting the air. It's going to continue for 20 more years, or if they don't stop them. So that's where we're supposed to target.
So what I understand is that you are recommending for us to do the monitoring of the air, get samples, have a particular company do a full interpretation of the findings. Are any of these companies maybe being considered, are those results, will those be legitimate results, or would those be considered?
Yes, they would, sir.
Okay.
Yes, my name is Melissa Cigarroa, and I'm part of the Clean Air Laredo Coalition, and I just wanted to add that we are focusing right now on schools and children, because the school district, of course, has responsibility for those children. But be under no illusions, this is all of the people who live in these neighborhoods.
Right.
So you're talking about families that live in La Bota and off of Mines Road. And even the workers that are in those industrial parks that are closest to the facility, those are all impacted people.
Has this recommendation of air monitoring been presented to the county or to the city officials?
Yes.
What has been the response?
That's my question as well, on that one.
And
What is
Mr. Vélez, whenever I have a chance.
what's the level of contribution from any of the other entities, LISD, City of Laredo, Webb County, any of the other entities, have they confirmed any dollar amount to supplement or
I can tell you right now that the City of Laredo has applied for grants that EPA is providing for air quality monitoring. Unfortunately, those funds wouldn't come in until several months to a year later, but they have put their name on that. They are pushing for that as they can. Right now, we don't know through the... Yeah, so we also, there's another route to go to find that hard data, whether ethylene oxide emissions are being absorbed by the children in the district, and that is to do blood monitoring studies, but it's been sort of the chicken and the egg. So the state won't approve funds until they have data that indicate that there's an issue. And of course, We are trusting the plant who will not provide any hard data, and the city doesn't have hard data because we don't do air monitoring.
So what grants are they applying for if there is no data to support any grant application?
It's the EPA air quality monitoring grants, and they understand that they have developed the maps that show that Laredo is underneath this extra high risk for the population to develop cancers. And that's all based on modeling that comes from self-reported emissions from the company, which means we have to trust the company data, and as was explained earlier, they are the ones saying that they have reduced emissions. But we know in other communities that even with that self-reported data, the emissions have been much higher than is indicated. It is not to say we do not want to cast aspersions. We're not assuming that this data is incorrect. But based on evidence from other communities, we know that other communities have found the data is incorrect from self-reporting.
Well, if I may, I'm not only as a United Independent School District board member, but as a Head Start director who has staff and children at Finley Elementary School, I'm extremely concerned about this. And also, I don't only believe that it's just secluded to that area. I live in Lakeside, and I have reported myself to TCEQ 2 times that I have smelt in the air chemicals. And they've gone and they've done studies. And myself and one of my neighbors have been reporting it. So I'm highly concerned. But as far as United Independent School District, this board has our involvement in this financially. If we were to agree to anything financially, would we be the first in this community to step up to the plate and do so?
As far as financial contributions, yes, but that does not mean that there wouldn't be more contributions to come in.
Okay, that's what I mean. Like we would set the ball rolling.
Yes, exactly.
Okay. And I did get a call from Senator Zaffarini's office right when I was driving over here, and I know she is very concerned about this as well.
Ms. Oliveros, I wanted to mention, when you look at the EPA NADA map, when they look at cancer level risk from industrial air pollution, and Laredo is just at the top of the list. And it's not, as you mentioned, only for the Mines Road area. It extends over all of north, central Laredo, going into downtown and going into southeast part of the city. And I have 2 kids, you know, first and second graders at Colonel Santos. And Colonel Santos ranks in the top 2 percentile of the United States. And so this weighs on me, not in my capacity of what I do, but as a mom. And, you know, I really urge y'all to take this step and to make this initial critical investment for my kids, Nina's kids, and all of the other parents, children, and for your staff as well.
What is the investment that we're going to make, or that we're being asked to consider?
If you wanted to go with 5 campuses, you could go with 3, but if you wanted to go with 5, you do 35 times 5, which is, I wasn't the best at math. 35,000 per campus.
35,000 per campus.
Let me ask you this real quick. So let's say we do testing at Muller. Would we have to do testing at Finley, even though it's that close?
No, this is just a quote that we got for each school, but you could choose as many or as little campuses as you would feel.
All right, so the question is, if we do just one in that area, would that give us the air quality of all that area, or just a small area?
No, because Muller is upwind of Midwest. Finley, Kazin, Washington are all downwind of the facility, and you have United to the east.
United High School.
So any air quality that's conducted is only going to be for
that
immediate
specific area. Yes, sir.
Okay.
But it's valuable data.
It's very valuable, yes.
Because there's nothing right now, right?
No,
There's no data. You guys have no data.
TCEQ does not have, they have 2 air monitoring stations in Laredo, but they only measure wind speed, wind direction. The other one measures particulate matter 2.5. And that's a good indicator for VOCs, but not anything else.
Okay.
And just, I also wanted to mention that without, having something approved, on paper.
Right.
We have the city of Laredo and Webb County following, we've been in contact with them as well, and they are very interested. If Webb County can only contribute to Moeller Elementary, then we would ask you, could you please do Findlay and Matias?
Has there been any direct requests for the information to this company?
Well, they won't meet with us.
So they won't meet at all? So.
No, AB Barrera has my phone number, I'm sure, and email.
We firmly believe that the company should be doing the air monitoring, but, we can't expect them to do so. Again, it's our kids. It's our kids, and I'm urging you and I'm asking you. There's data that there is something going on because of the studies that they have,
Right.
that it shows that there's a statistically significant higher chance of someone developing non-Hodgkin, or what is the non-Hodgkin's lymphoma in those census tracts. So there is some data. So that is exactly why it is imperative for us to take that step forward.
Yes.
Mr. Vélez, whenever you get a
Mr.
chance.
Gonzalez, you have some comments? Go ahead.
So I want to commend Coalition. Thank you. And one of the words that came out earlier was you are in agreement that we should be working coalition with the county, city. But I want to remind everybody here in this room today that as a district, number one priority is always be safety. Obviously, we're looking right now at school violence, so forth, what's going on, what's happening in Novalda. We also look at the air quality. So we do have an approved vendor also as well as a district, just to remind everybody. And just recently, through the funding that we got from the federal government, UISD invested, just to remind everybody, $5,333,132. We invested on the UV lamps, which are in our air ducts for the quality. So it also attacks, it kills the germs and so forth. So we are looking at school safety. I will tell you that probably the air in our campus is a lot safer than any environment in our community. And that's pretty much a fact because of what we've done. Now, I will also say that whatever decision the board agrees on, we're going to abide as administration. We're not going to, that's something we have to do as a United District. But we invest a lot of money in this. The recommendation, obviously, what you all decide is what we'll do. Right now, administration is recommending that we do a collaboration with the government entities such as the City of Laredo, Webb County, Laredo College, Laredo ISD. We do need more information on this, on the oxide issues affecting our community and possible solution. It is imperative that we keep our students safe at all times. We want to work with the coalition, obviously, but we're also looking at the financial issue. No dollar bill can amount to a child's life, and I understand that completely.
Absolutely.
But again, this is not a UISD issue, this is a community issue, so we are asking to involve the other entities, and we were willing to work with them and to reach out to them.
Absolutely, but you bring up a good point, Mr. Gonzalez. If our schools are equipped with these air purifying equipment, would that affect the studies that you're going to do inside the school? No, it doesn't clean out the chemical?
The molecule's so tiny, it gets measured in parts per billion or parts per trillion. It's a very, very tiny molecule, so air filters
No effect.
have no effect, neither do masks.
Okay, thank you.
Really quickly, Ms. Oliveros, I would also like to state, Stephen Troutman over here. Just really quickly, we've had some internal meetings with the district, and frankly, the district does have its own approved vendors to do testing if they so wanted to move forward, but there are options in-house.
Okay.
Hi, good evening. Victor Trevino Jr. for the record. I want to go ahead and commend the coalition. I think this is an important step, but before we start going into this, part of it has to start with, we have to really, really dig deep and say that we're worth it. There's several studies that show the disparities, racial disparities. Hispanic communities are the most impacted by pollution. This is a Harvard study that measured zip codes over 16 years. And in every zip code where non-Hispanic communities went up, the impact of pollution went down. In Hispanic communities, and especially in low-income Hispanic communities, where the population went up, the impact emissions went up with it. So there's clearly some disparity and equity issues involved, but besides that, we're a medically underserved community. So this is not only creating a systemic problem for us, it's creating a generational problem for us for years to come. We're not going to see the effects of this if we do not act now. For 10, 15 years, our children, our grandchildren, and we have a duty to act. It's our civic duty to protect our neighbors, and especially when we have the information. We're not saying there's causation here. We're saying there's scientific correlation. And just like this discussion happened before seatbelts were made legal in cars, we knew the risks. We knew how to protect our communities. We need to move now because of the science behind it. Not only has the World Health Organization and the EPA considered this to be a carcinogen, they already know the impact and how much it takes to cause cancer. We also have studies from the state. DSHS just released their cancer cluster study. As you heard, non-Hodgkin's lymphoma is higher here. That's concerning. We had a town hall meeting in December of last year. Several people got up and told us their testimonials as to their children getting cancer, and they don't know why. The doctors told them that it was environmental. So we have enough correlation, okay? And we know that Hispanic communities are impacted the most by this. At the very least, we should err on the side of caution and get these monitors. Now you say, well, has the city, has the county? Look, I understand it's hard to be the first one, but you guys have the most significant interest in this fight against pollution. It's the fact that you have schools right in the impact zone. And so it's important that we take that step. If not just for our children, but for our children's children. Because these decisions that we make today are going to echo through time. And you guys are going to be the people who actually took the leadership. It's a great movie. So I think overall that's what we're asking. And you're right. This falls in the lap of several entities, the EPA being one. The Clean Air Act statutorily puts that mandate in their lap. We have given them notice that we intend to bring a suit against them as well if they don't have continued engagement with our community. As explained earlier, there are communities with better economic resources, more affluent, more medical resources that have gotten these community engagement meetings before us. We had a plant that at one point had the most emissions in the entire United States, and we still have yet to get a community engagement meeting. So absolutely, there are several stakeholders in this conversation, but we're here with you tonight, and that's what counts.
Yes.
Okay? Thank you very much.
I go back to the same thing. We need to stop the plant. You need to kill the one that's polluting the city, not only the school district, the city. They need to go after them.
Well, Mr. Molina, I think you bring up an important point. But again, we don't have the data to prove causation. When they went to go get their permitting and everything, they did it under the law. You know, they went to the city, like you mentioned, they got their permit, they went to TCEQ, got their permit. Things have changed since then. We've gotten information. We've become more informed as to the effects of ethylene oxide, like anything else, just like we've learned a lot about a lot of pollutants. And now the EPA is going to change the standards. But in the interim, thousands of children are inhaling this emission. Yeah. And we have reason to believe that if this was a nothing burger, I guarantee that data would come out too. Okay? So we're trying to say we need to err on the side of caution because this involves health of our children and the health of our community. So that's why it's so important. This is not a miscellaneous item. It's something that really does impact. And the city has a stake in this too. Because ultimately, down the road, if this ends up becoming what we might consider a public health disaster, we're seeing history unfold right before our eyes and we did nothing about it, then we have bigger problems.
Did I read correctly that this company had been driven out by some other community prior to coming here to Laredo? I want to say that I read that somewhere.
Not that we know of, Ms. Oliveros. There have been other companies that have shut down based on data, based on community requests. It is interesting to note Midwest has 2 companies here in Laredo, and in their headquarters in Jackson, Missouri, our emissions are significantly higher, but both of their companies are on the top 23 list of highest emitting ethylene oxide polluters in the United States. So we expect and we would want them to be a better corporate citizen and partner in this community and invest all that PR money into doing air monitoring themselves.
Or leave and go somewhere else. Right. Okay, well, I mean, you have my full support.
To give you just a little bit of context about Midwest sterilization, they report that they used in 2020 1.3 million pounds of ethylene oxide during the year. That is one of the reasons why their emissions are so high. That is higher than any other sterilizer in the entire country. It is also 3 times higher than their plant in Jackson, Missouri. And those 2 plants dwarf every other sterilizer facility operating currently in the United States. Let's give a little context.
I did want to say a final comment because I think I can relate to some people who are here. I reside in 78045. So I know that it not only impacts school-age children, and that's what I've been reading and understanding by being part of the coalition, but it impacts all adults as well. It's not just children. But I understand that our primary purpose is for the education of our children. And that's why I want to be careful and be quite honest with you. We need to make sure that we do have the data. And this is the way to do it, so be it. We'll do it. And in my opinion, I'll vote for it too. But I think at the end of the day, I might have standing in case anything happens in the future that this is allowed to continue. If anything, I'm not here to drive businesses out. I'm here, though, to get information. And I stand with you on that.
Any other comments from the board?
What would
All right, so,
be our commitment?
all right, so
Maybe legal can give us a direction on what the
As far
resolution
as
would
the
look like.
vendors and.
The vendor.
Well, first of all, Mr. Gonzalez did make his recommendation regarding collaboration with the other entities to obtain other information. A motion can be acted on upon that. And as far as if monetary money is going to be committed, you know, we would have to get with purchasing regarding RFQs and things of that nature, because we don't know who these vendors are. We don't know, there hasn't been any sort of request for qualifications issued or anything received by the district. So,
Okay, so I believe that we were told that we could do, you know, one or as many schools as we'd like. If we were to make a commitment to at least one school with not making a financial commitment to it, but making a commitment to looking into the financial impact of the study at, I would guess, Findlay, because it's downwind, let's say Findlay Elementary School, in collaboration with other government, local government entities, and also with the help of our accounting, our finance department, looking into the financial impact to the district with our approved vendors.
Absolutely, that would be a motion right there.
I would
Okay.
just like to comment, according to the EPA data, Muller School exists in the highest risk.
Okay, well then I will amend my motion to say Muller instead of Findlay.
Which schools would you pick if you had to pick one or two?
Muller,
Well, we
Findlay.
wouldn't want to just pick one because
yes.
we want to
Obviously,
be as well-informed as possible and say, this is not just one school, here's 2 or 3, but we would recommend, Mr. Montemayor, 5 if you can, or a minimum of 3, and they're up there. Muller, Findlay,
They are-
United High School,
So Muller is the first one, so.
and
We could use
certainly the others.
Muller
are
as our
Starting
protocol, yeah, as our prototype, and let's see where that leads us, and certainly we wouldn't stop there. If we could continue to all 5, we certainly would, but we have to start somewhere, and I think with some, you know, some hesitation with the other local governments not yet committing to a collaboration, we will start that with the motion I just made, and then expand on that once we're able to, if we're able to, which I hope we're able to. But that's a motion.
I'll second you.
Good. I would like to amend your motion. I
Okay.
really believe that the 5 campuses they brought up that are listed here, I agree because 78045 is a wider area. It might give an opportunity to catch more of that oxide. And not only that, I think I like to see that, if I remember correctly, this facility emits the oxide at different times of the day, at different points, and so it's going to be tricky, I hate to use that word, when they're going to be able to release that. And so my amendment, with all due respect, would be
Yeah, that's
to
fine.
have 5 of them. Let's do this 5, see what we find.
Would that be considered a sub-motion right
That's
there?
the amended motion, so we need a second on that one.
All right, so there'll be a sub-motion. Is there a second to, some motion by Mr. Castillo? All right, so no second, so motion dies. We'll go back to Ms. Oliveros' original motion to direct the district administration to work in collaboration with other entities to see about the possibility of doing study at Muller of air monitoring. Is that correct? Ms. Oliveros?
Yes, that is correct. And with the
Second that?
hopes of doing all 5, but we have to have a starting point financially.
I'd agree to do that.
Okay.
And I want to be progressive about it. Let's
Okay,
start with Muller, and
absolutely.
then we could grow
Okay.
into Finley and Matias, and hopefully by then, the other entities will start jumping on.
Can I
on
suggest,
board.
Ms. Oliveros, if you want to add a time on that,
Time frame.
that collaboration? I don't know, you want to do 60 days?
Tomorrow. Trisha Cortez said
Right.
tomorrow.
Within 30 days?
30 days, does that sound good? Okay, there you
So
go.
maybe 30 days and have district administration present to us a clear path as far as which
With the-
company we can utilize and then move forward from there.
Absolutely.
work?
I agree to that
All
timeline.
right, so motion,
We have a second?
Second, third,
second.
fourth.
All right, so any other discussion? All those in favor, aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, unopposed?
Congratulations. I know
Thank you
you
very
said that
much.
we would be the pioneers of this, but that is by far the truth. You all are, not us. So congratulations to you. and
Thank you so much. Thank you, all of you. And Ms. Oliveros, just to ease your nerves, we will be at the Webb County meeting next week, and we're on the agenda to do just what we did here with them.
Okay, awesome. As I am a department under them, so awesome. Thank you.
Can you come and
I
help
will be
us
there.
encourage them to do the
Yes, I'll-
second
I'll
school?
punch out
Maybe-
from work and I'll be there.
Maybe they're willing to pay for all of them.
We'll talk
Then
to
we
the
can-
judge.
You're
Thank
welcome.
you.
For your leadership.
Thank you.
Good job.
Thank you. All right, so back to agenda item 10, closed session, time is 7:14. In accordance with Texas Government Code Sections 551.071, 551.072, and 551.074, the board will discuss items 10A through 10D. No action will be taken in closed session. We'll be back in approximately 30 to 45 minutes. All right, so open session, board has reconvened from closed session. We are now in open session. Time is 8:04 PM for the record. No action was taken in closed session. All right, so agenda item D1, discussion possible action to authorize legal counsel to take further action regarding meeting board marketing agreement between Impacto Media, Inc. and United Independent School District.
Yes, the recommendation is to authorize legal counsel to continue negotiations as discussed in closed session.
So move.
Second. Motion and second. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? None. Motion passes. Agenda item D2, discussion and possible action to amend board policy DEC, local compensation and benefits, leave and absences.
I make a motion to amend Board Policy DEC Local to add 5 local leave days for the 2022-2023 school year.
Motion and second. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? None opposed. Motion passes. Agenda item D3, discussion and possible action regarding potential settlement agreement and level 3 agreements filed by Amanda Sanchez and others.
Yes, the recommendation is to approve the settlement agreement for the DGBA local level 3 grievance filed by Amanda Sanchez, ETAL, as discussed in closed session, and to authorize the superintendent to execute all documents that are necessary.
So moved.
Second.
Motion is second. Any further discussion? All those in favor, aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? None opposed, motion passes. Agenda item D4, discussion and possible action regarding resolution of the board regarding extension district-provided emergency sick paid leave for eligible district employees.
Yes, the recommendation is to approve the resolution regarding the district-provided employee paid sick leave as discussed in closed session.
So moved.
Second.
Motion is second. Any discussion? All those in favor, aye.
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 All those opposed? None opposed, motion passes. Then we have agenda item D5. It's possible action with respect to the possible revision of the proposed purchase sale agreement and the possible execution once finalized of such purchase and sale agreement regarding the acquisition of a tract of land of approximately 10.77 acres out of a 53.40 acre tract of land, which is itself is out of a tract of land described in the deed recorded in volume 1089. Tract is situated in portion 28, E. Martinez, abstract 241, Webb County, Texas. Such property in the vicinity of the intersection of Saunders Boulevard and Loop 20 in Laredo, Webb County.
Yes, the recommendation is to authorize legal counsel to continue negotiations as discussed in closed session.
So moved.
Motion a second. Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? None opposed, motion passes. With that, agenda item 11, adjournment. Time is 8:07 PM. We have a motion. Do we have a second to adjourn?
Second.
Second. To adjourn. All right, thank you. 8:07, good evening.